The house is contingent on this, the sale is contingent on that. Whether you are a buyer or seller in today's market, a contingency or the only if clause is a term that you're gonna hear all the time. And in this video, we're gonna go over what a contingency is and the 4 most common types that we see every day. Let's break right into this bitch. What is a contingency? Technically speaking, a contingency in a real estate transaction is an event or condition that has to take place in order for the transaction to move forward, or in other words, to close escrow. To put it simply, a contingency is the only if clause. So like, only if you pay the electricity bill, can you turn the lights on in your house.
Alexa, all lights off.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. Let's say we make an offer on a home with an inspection contingency, and when we get to the house, we discover a big ass foundation issue. In the event the seller is unwilling to make that repair, or if the seller is unwilling to give us a credit to make that fix, or if us as the buyer do not have the money to repair it after the close of escrow, we can rescind that offer and get back our earnest money deposit with nothing lost to us. So when we make an offer on a house, it always includes an earnest money deposit, or EMD. This is money that you're gonna put into escrow to show them that you have skin in the game. In the event a contingency does not occur or something happens and you're able to rescind that offer before the contingencies are removed, you get back your whole earnest money deposit, or EMD. Contingency number 1, a loan contingency. Having a loan contingency ensures the protection of the buyer in the event that something goes wrong during the loan approval process, that they will be freed from any obligation to purchase the house and get back their earnest money deposit. Here's the thing, before we start shopping, we should already know whether we qualify for a loan or not. Your income, credit, debts, and employment should all be verified by a lender, and a pre-approval letter and desktop underwriting should be generated before we even hit the streets. Real life example, we had a buyer who unfortunately lost their jobs in the middle of escrow. Because they lost their job, they could no longer qualify for a home loan, but because we had the loan contingency in the contract, we were able to rescind the offer and get them back their earnest money deposit. It's not great when something like that happens, but a contingency like this is what can help us protect the buyer and the seller before we get too far along. Number 2. A home inspection contingency allows the buyer to further negotiate, assuming that something is discovered at the inspection that went unnoticed when we were first previewing the house. Generally speaking, we aren't looking for the cosmetic nitty-gritty stuff at the home inspection. We're really trying to focus on the health and safety related items. The big 4 is the roof, foundation, plumbing, and electrical. Every house is gonna have its issues, including new home builds. It's typical to have a house with a leaky faucet. It's so normal to have a water heater that isn't double strapped, or a bedroom that's missing a smoke detector. What we're really looking for here is anything that might compromise the health and safety about a place. Number 3, a sale contingency. Let's say you wanted to buy a new house, but before you could buy that new house, you had to sell your old house. That's a sale contingency, and it's really typical to see in this market, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's definitely something you want to learn a little bit more about before committing to that contract. First, as a buyer, you should generally be told up front whether the house that you're making an offer on is contingent upon the seller finding a replacement home. If you're about to get kicked out of your place, or you only have like a week to make a move, waiting on the seller to find a replacement home might not be the kind of offer that you want to get into contract with. Second, as the buyer, it's not a bad idea to explore, has the seller started the shopping process on their upleg property yet? Have they opened escrow on the new home that they're looking for? It's important to keep in mind that whatever happens to the seller and their upleg property has a direct effect on you getting the house that you just went into contract for. All this is really relevant to give you an idea what your timeline looks like to get into this house. And I don't want a sale contingency to scare you because this is so typical in the market today. It's just something that you should be aware of as you approach shopping for a house. Number 4, appraisal contingency. This is where the appraisal from the bank needs to come in at or over the value in the offer in order for the transaction to keep moving forward at the contract price. So in the event the appraisal does not come in at value, we have three options. One, the seller can reduce the sales price to match the appraisal in order for everyone to keep moving forward. Alternative number two is for the buyer to come out of pocket and cover the difference from where the appraisal is to where the offer price is. And number three, the buyer and the seller can meet in the middle, split hairs, and just keep it pushing. In today's market, some very wild and competitive shit is happening.
He fights back, shows some strength, and crunches. Now that is an amazing throw.
Two things that we are seeing every single day is people removing the appraisal contingency entirely, or two, offering a difference in the event the appraisal would come low. So let me put it simply, when we remove the appraisal contingency, we are telling the seller that I don't give a fuck what the bank says this house is worth. I will put down dollar for dollar the difference between what the bank says it's worth and what the offer I made says I want to pay for it. The other thing that we are seeing all the time that offers the buyer slightly more protection than removing entirely the appraisal contingency is offering an overage in the event the appraisal would come low. So let's say the house is listed at $650,000 and we make an offer at $670,000 and we tell the seller, in the event the bank don't say it's worth that, I will cover the difference up to $10,000. So when the bank comes back and says it's worth $655,000, we would put $10,000 on top of that for the final purchase price to be $665,000 instead of $670,000. With the market being as competitive as it is today, it's really important to analyze what you can do to make your offer stand out from the 100 that are sitting right next to you. And messing with the appraisal contingency or offering some sort of amount over that is one thing that's really helping buyers slide in when everybody else is getting pushed out. Whether you want to remember these as contingencies or only if clauses, these terms aren't designed to game anybody, but instead are there to protect both the buyer and the seller and to give everybody involved peace of mind as we're moving along the escrow process. Does any of this resonate with you? Do you have questions about the escrow process or home shopping generally? Holler at your boy, shoot me a message. You might just be one DM away from your own house.